YouTube celebrates Deaf Awareness Week by killing crowd-sourced captions. Out of curiosity, what is the whole rationale behind the removal of crowd-sourced captions? Being someone who watches tons of foreign videos and being completely dependent on them, this would really throw a wrench in things for me, and it is quite infuriating. TBQH. Was there some big problem with captioning that blew up into something really bad? Or did a third-party professional company offer to do captioning for a hefty sum? And I guess instead of letting the video owner approve submitted captions, isn't that already a thing? They just decide to kill the whole feature. I mean, what would the problem with that be? First step, creator receives crowd-sourced transcription. Second step. Option A, transcription is "I have big penis, add me on Kick." Creator doesn't accept transcription. Option B, transcription is legitimate. Creator accepts transcription to his video with a single click. What the hell would be so impossible about all this? The creator doesn't speak the languages the video is being translated to. If YouTube can demonetize your video if you have a swear word in any language, they can run a basic translation for you to approve. Or give you the option to turn it off. Dyslexia score hidden 36 minutes ago. Which is a terrible excuse to cut it, since crowd-sourced captions is an optional feature that YouTubers can disable if they are having that problem. That seems to be the claim. But others are saying they intend to charge for detailed captions. So essentially they removed a free but flawed alternative, so they can profit off the disabled. No, they're not. They're saying creators might have to hire captioners to do captions for their channels. Subtitles will be free to viewers no matter what. So it's on the creators to supply it. It seems like a gamble though, because what if the video becomes demonetized and the creator isn't capable of paying? In reality, is it difficult to upload captions? Like for instance, if the creator has a script typed out, could they embed it and then sync the captions? I mean, how often does NBC force directors to provide the funding for captions? The article mentions that creators can still manually add captions, it's just the crowd-sourced aspect that's going away. So small channels still have undue pressure on them to do the exact same thing. They're not charging, they're directing people to professional subtitles who may charge themselves. YouTube are paying for 6 months subscription to one of these services for creators too. So they're increasing the barrier to entry with likely a financial barrier as well. Cool. You can read the rationale in the original post here: https://support.google.com/youtube/thread/6196785 HL=N. In short, the argument is that community subtitles were only present on 0.2% of watched video hours, and many of the subs contain spam and abusive content. An employee clarifies in the comments that dropping this will allow them to focus on other features. You should draw your own conclusions about how much you believe this. If they actually cared about this issue, they would allow creators to assign caption permissions to pre-approved community members. Would be a best of both worlds thing. YouTube only deals in absolutes. Like the people the original version of the quote talked about. If they actually cared about this issue. The rationale OP summarized sounds like they're admitting that they don't care about the issue, and that's why they'd rather just drop it instead of continuing to deal with it. Really unfortunate for less popular foreign languages that almost wholly depend on community subs. YouTube would remove a ramp to an airplane for people on wheelchairs because it was used only by a small percentage of people. Yeah, no, after they shut down Google Music instead of improving it, they're lying out of their asses. Several videos I've seen had good community subtitles, and if they cared about the abuse they'd administrate them. After all, if it's only 0.2% of the watched video hours, surely it's not much work to moderate them and punish the abusers and reward the good ones? Surely it's not much work. It is actually far too much work. There are over 5 billion videos on YouTube. There is no cost-effective way to manually moderate millions of videos, automated/crowdsourced moderation or nothing. They chose nothing. They changed their motto to do the right thing in 2015, which sounds like it has the same sentiment as don't be evil, but is actually very different when you think about it for any length of time. Do the right thing, for our shareholders. I don't think there is any reasonable way to change something from a sentiment of no evil and look good. It's hyperbolic for a business, sure, but they wrote themselves into a corner if they could no longer promise it. It's really not hyperbolic for a business if you even gloss at the history, recent or old, of horrific things companies have done. Look, sometimes, in order to ensure the people of the world can enjoy the refreshing taste of Coca-Cola, you have to hire a few paramilitary death squads. Try our new flavor, Coca-Cola Extrajudicial, the taste of danger. Are you trying to get a Star Wars meme? Because this is how you get a Star Wars meme. Wouldn't this be bad for revenue though? I thought YT used captions to target ads, now that will be harder to do. I wonder if YouTube is going to release their own captioning service creators could pay for. Why don't more people use YouTube Vanced though? It'll surely take a hit on their revenues. I guess it'll just be the bad news for the content creators though, and that's pretty frustrating. YouTube is just making it off due to its monopoly, and there's nothing that can be done to solve it. More people using YouTube Vanced probably isn't a great idea. They just haven't bothered to shut it down yet because the user base is relatively small. There's a lot of people who don't know what it is, don't use an Android, are unsure about the validity of the app itself, and get easily confused by the instructions given to install it. I've used Vanced since its first release, and it's become a given when trying out new ROMs and mods on my Pixel 4 XL currently. Really wish more people knew about the app or would bother to check it out though. YouTube CEO Susan Wojcicki mistook it for Deaf to Awareness Week. No, the week made them aware that there are deaf people and that they are an exploitable demographic. YouTube has become exactly what you would expect of a monopoly. This is what happens when one corporation gets the lion's share of a product or services market. And to think, it started as a way to see Janet Jackson's boobie. Fun fact, Janet Jackson's boobie led to the industry standard 5-second delay in live broadcasts. It was a very influential and groundbreaking boobie. I still laugh at how American TV fears nudity. It's just a boob, for crying out loud. It cannot hurt anyone in any way. What's really crazy is that it basically destroyed her career, but Justin Timberlake, who exposed said boob, had no career troubles at all. Really goes to show that a big part of our cultural boob terror is a symptom of a bigger problem with the people the boobs are attached to. What's so fucked up is that Justin Timberlake got no blame. Neither should be in trouble. Americans conservatives are prudes. But it's even more fucked up that she's the only who got cancelled. And yes, the right invented cancel culture. The Dixie Chicks and Janet Jackson predate Twitter. I read it from this article, https://ontheaside.com/music/nipplegate, celebrating when Janet Jackson's boob became the most searched thing in internet history / Forgetting for a minute that it happened during one of the greatest Super Bowls of all time. Everyone else has the half second that the world saw Janet Jackson's jewelry-adorned nipple immediately caused a chain of overreaction. It led to the now standard 5-second delay on live broadcasts. It coined the term wardrobe malfunction. It led to millions in fines, hundreds of hours in court cases, and was considered a politicking point for a then faltering George W. Bush. I was not saying it was a new concept. My thinking was it had been used before by some production companies but didn't become industry standard until after this incident. Fun's clown 118 points 1 hour ago. What's most amazing about this is how neolibs frame it as a failure of the government because of too many regulations. Monopolies don't form in an unregulated market according to them. Because once a large corporation becomes inflexible, a younger, more ambitious competitor takes over. You just have to suspend your disbelief and act like they couldn't just squash any new competition by throwing money at the problem. The invisible hand will guide us. In theory, another website could pop up and do everything YouTube does better. Think Mixer vs Twitch. The problem is that the value of social media is in the community. Users want to be in one place, therefore all the content ends up in one place. Competition struggles to exist because you cannot buy a community. Mixer tried. The only way would be for a mass exodus of some kind, and YouTube still does most things right for that not to happen. Mixer, when it was Hitbox, gambled with the chem girls playing games market and lost. Once upon a time, if you were banned off Twitch for nudity or other violations related to it, you just went to Hitbox. I'm hopeful that Facebook buying Mixer will improve Facebook's streaming support, but it appears they just bought it to shut it down. Sigh. Twitch and YouTube have too much of a market monopoly for smaller services to exist anymore. I've never understood ANCAPs, especially the way they felt monopolies are caused by market restrictions. Either way, the whole system is fucked. We need serious change. Part of me thinks it will come soon as we progress farther into late-stage capitalism and more people see its failings. Another part of me thinks it's already sunk its claws far too deep and this is just what life will be. I really hope for the former. The idea is not monopolies don't happen, but that as soon as a monopoly stagnates, someone will come along with a better system and crush it, which is why YouTube, whilst being a monopoly, keeps making changes whether you like them or not. Which is an absurd fantasy, because unless you have $1 billion to risk, you're not going to be able to even take a shot at a company like Disney or AOL, Time Warner or Comcast, NBC Universal, and anyone who does have $1 billion to risk knows of safer ways to turn it into $2 billion than to fight a monopoly or oligopoly for a share of the pie. No student filmmaker is going to knock the MCU out of the #1 slot no matter how energetic they are. This makes me really sad, not only because charging for captions is ableist and stupid, but also I loved the funny anecdotes people would include in the crowdsourced ones. Edit, a word. Honestly, this is really sad. There were some people in the Vocaloid community that were awesome at making user captions. Edit, since this is probably my most popular comment, I'm going to take this moment to soapbox. The best way to fight this is going to be by not letting up. Email, post, comment, tweet, get the word out there about this. Let's fight back against this until the end. Really? I hated that. People should just write exactly what was said in the video. I agree, and that's why they're being done away with. Everyone thinks they're funnier than they really are. Still though, I feel like it should be included officially by YouTube. Lots of work for some people, and providing a service to deaf people. Yet I couldn't imagine being deaf and trying to figure out WTF is going on in the video when the entire captions are just some guy cracking shitty jokes. YouTube automatic captions aren't perfect and frequently were worse than community captions, but there's plenty of times the opposite is true. am mostly deaf. This is a bullshit new policy. Don't speak on our behalf. Almost all people on the hearing loss scale despise this change. Auto-generated captions are good in certain well-spoken circumstances, vlogs like CGP, Kurt Gesucht, and many TV shows. They're terrible with newscasting, live recording, videos with music or BG noise etc. Let's be honest, there should be a report and review system if they actually cared. This is just Google saying they won't be arsed to deal with it anymore. I hate every bit of this. Auto-generated captions are garbage and lack any kind of real knowledge of vernacular. I rely on them heavily enough as it stands. YouTube is generally becoming less and less accepting or diverse, as it tries its hardest to squash the creators it hosts. I hate every bit of this. Auto-generated captions are garbage and lack any kind of real knowledge of vernacular. I rely on them heavily enough as it stands. YouTube is generally becoming less and less accepting or diverse, as it tries its hardest to squash the creators it hosts. I thought this was to prevent inaccurate/misinforming captions and rely on professional third parties for captions. Is that incorrect? That's what they're saying, but now deaf/hard of hearing people will have to pay for captions, whereas the crowd-sourced ones were free. Edit, I misspoke, the user is not paying for the captions, the creators would be, which most will not. Having both as an option is the best case scenario. The problem is that people keep uploading spammy and offensive captions that YouTube needs to spend money to moderate. It's just not worth the headaches over auto-generated captions and expecting big channels to just pay someone to make captions.